half. play with Hannah and Amelia?
I was not prepared for it. I didn't know that much about Capuchin behavior at the time, and she was great with Hannah all through childhood until Hannah was about 13. And she must have, whatever monkey sense, she sensed that she was starting to, become an adult. Hannah did not stand her ground because she was a little intimidated, and I think she was really surprised.
The frustrating thing to me is I'd be like, Mom, tell her not to do that, please. And my mom would say, I can't, she won't respect you. You have to do it for yourself. You have to challenge her yourself, or she's never going to stop.
Yeah, it's not like a dog. That's why I would throw my hands up and I was like, well, Hannah, if you're not gonna restrain her, then there's nothing I can do for you.
And I do think that she was right, because every now and then my mom would say, like, don't do that, or why would you do that? And
Amelia would look at me like, really? You had to go get your mommy to come yell at me?
I would lose my patience sometimes, and I would say, Hannah, you just have to grab her by the shoulders and bring her up to you.
My mom would coach me, and she would be like, okay, just when she comes, you're going to look her in the eye. You can't break eye contact. If she scratches you, it doesn't matter. You just have to make sure that you hold eye contact longer than she does. And then once she breaks eye contact, then you know that you have won the encounter, that you've come out on top.
She was little. She was 6 pounds. So it wasn't hard.
But do you think Hannah at her age should have been able to do it?
Absolutely. I kept telling her to. And I kept saying, this is what you do. And she wouldn't do it. She just never really wanted to go face to face with her.
I really did try, and I would talk myself into it. I would try to hype myself up, like, okay, next time she attacks me, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna do it. It doesn't matter if she's scratching me, I'm just gonna be brave.
And I could never do it.
Did you ever feel like it was unfair for Hannah to have to go through this?
Oh, God, no. Definitely was not unfair at all. I think Hannah had a lot to do with the fact that they never were on equal level.
It felt confusing because I think I blamed myself for being treated this way. So I definitely felt resentment and confusion and a little bit of self-judgment, because what's wrong with me that I can't top this monkey?
I guess I wasn't as reactive to Hannah as I should have been when the monkey was annoying to her, because I felt that Hannah should have taken care of it herself. So that probably caused some tension between the two of us. But it's true, I could not intervene in their relationship.
I was angry at my mom when I felt like she chose Amelia over me. I do feel like sometimes they were on their own team and I was the opposing team.
I also just, I enjoyed being with her. She just couldn't be trusted, that's all. Not Hannah, but the monkey.
My dad was very much on my side, but he knew he couldn't control the monkey. And I don't think the boys in the house really understood.
Part of it was kind of funny. It was hard not to laugh at it. It was, I guess, more fascinating than anything else. I never perceived it as a genuine threat.
I would not want to talk to her or hang out with her, but it was difficult because she was eating dinner with us. So sometimes I would eat dinner in my room. Every now and then, I would imagine, what if she didn't come back? Like, what if the door was open and she wandered off? But I never would have actually enacted that. And she was a family member. So as much as you're annoyed and pissed at someone, you don't want them to disappear. But I definitely imagined scenarios where someone else adopts her, or like a monkey family comes and picks her up and takes her away to have a monkey life so that she could go play all these Machiavellian monkey games with other monkeys and not with me.
Was there ever any worry that you might have to remove her from the house?
No, never. She really couldn't have gone into a colony or a sanctuary. She would have been the bottom of the hierarchy and had a really hard time. And she wouldn't have lived that long. I accepted that this is what it is. That if Hannah wasn't going to try to sort of an equal relationship with her, then that's what it was. I knew Hannah wasn't going to get hurt. I knew it was going to get better eventually as Hannah grew up. I was not worried about that.
So it wasn't all conflict, which made it confusing because Amelia would come when I was watching TV with my brother, and she would come and snuggle, and she would like make little chirp chirp sounds, and it would be like old times, and I would have this really cute best friend, and it was really sweet. I really liked spending time with her and being close to her, and I really missed that, but I always was on defense just in case.
For the return, the sibling rivalry is in full effect, but it's a different set of rules. Your big sister goes by the law of the jungle. Stay tuned.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from attorney mediator Ron Bankston, providing in-person, video conferencing, and hybrid mediation and arbitration services. More information is available at ronbankston.com.
Support comes from the Houston Symphony, featuring Marin Alsop conducting Brahms Symphony No. 2, Bernstein Serenade, and Barber's second essay for orchestra. This weekend, January 23rd through 25th at Jones Hall. Tickets at houstonsymphony.org.
This week on The Sam Sanders Show, legendary soul musician Raphael Sadiq. We'll talk about his little song in a big film called Sinners. They told me it was a really small film. Really? Yeah, so they kept calming me down. And all of that kept relaxing me, so I thanked him for that. Raphael Sadiq on making music for Hollywood, Beyonce, D'Angelo, and more.
Sunday evening at 6, followed by Latino USA at 7 on News 88.7.
Next time on The Pulse, 50 years ago, NASA sent unmanned spacecraft to Mars with an ambitious mission.
Is there a form of life on Mars?
The craft sent back images, conducted experiments, and yet the mission was seen as a failure by many.
People stopped paying attention.
Now the findings are getting another look.
Sunday afternoon at 2 on News 88.7.
Welcome back to Snap Judgment, the Monkey Sister episode of our Tooth and Claw series exploring various forms of interspecies communication. Before the break, the Friedman family's pet monkey Amelia was beginning to see teenage daughter Hannah as a threat in the household's social hierarchy. And after being inseparable for years, the relationship has turned downright hostile. Can Hannah get the monkey off her back? Snap Judgment.
When I was in elementary school, it was cool to have a monkey, but in high school, it started to be kind of weird and ostracizing, and it was less cool and more bizarre. I started to get embarrassed because all the popular girls who I really desperately wanted to hang out with and go shopping with were grossed out by the idea that there was a monkey that like pooped in our hallway all the time, and I just didn't want to be known as the girl who had this monkey because like I'm other things than that also. So I stopped talking about it as much.
When I started taking darkroom photography in high school, we would take pictures of flowers and trees and objects around the house. And then I did a series of portrait photography of Amelia and my brother. And they were really beautiful portraits because you can see they have such a strong bond. So although they were really cute,
casket funeral, and there is footage of it, and it's so weird.
And I thought she'd look good with a smoking jacket in the open coffin.
She's clutching lilacs. My mom put lilacs in her hands, and there are bananas arranged as if they were Viking horns on either side of her coffin. So I just thought it was very
breaking news anytime at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Listen to us on your favorite devices. Tell your smart speaker to play News 88.7.
Wait, you're listening.
strips of LED lights.
And the reason why we use LEDs is because a regular light bulb, it can't flash fast enough.
And so the idea is, what if we just put the mice in this room and just let the light flicker at 40 beats per second?
So you want to show Molly like a 30 second?
Yeah. And so we turn on the overhead light in the room, so it's very black. And then, oh wow, the room was now glowing with this white LED light.
Okay, so the light is turning on and off 40 times a second.
It's so there's you don't see anything going like on or off. It just looks like something's on, but it kind of feels like my eye is twitching, and so it's blurring the light a little, just on the edges though.
On the edges.
And so they put mice in this room for an hour and just let him kind of bathe in this glow.
And guess what? We look at the amyloid beta levels in the visual cortex, and we found there is a 50% reduction.
50%?
50%
Just
reduction.
from shining light in their eyeballs?
Yes.
Wait a second, they didn't do any drilling in their skulls or anything?
No, they didn't drill. They didn't tweak the mouse's brain cells to be sensitive to light. This
They
is
just filled the room with occasional LEDs flashing at a particular frequency?
for an hour.
Now do you see? Are you gonna tell me I don't believe it? It's science fiction.
And they followed this study up with another study, which was done in the same way, so the same flicker room, light through the eyeballs, and only this time they put the mice in there for 1 hour a day for 7 days, and they took mice that had full-blown Alzheimer's. So this is like cognitive decline, they're forgetting things, and they've got hardened plaques in their brain. And they see the same thing. Nearly half of the stuff was cleared away. Half.
It's just flickering light in front of the mice.
That's the shock. I mean, that's the shocking thing. The thing I didn't understand after talking to you about your study was I was like, why hasn't everyone done this before? Like, why didn't everyone go, we should just shine light through eyes?
See, well, that's really the most unexpected and exciting aspect of our study, which is something this simple, yet, it has never been done before.
One of the things, one of the caveats here is that if you don't do the flicker light room every 24 hours, the level of gunk in the brain starts going back up again. And so now we're trying to figure out how they can keep those levels down, maybe even for good. So when we originally reported this in 2016, it was all breaking news. It was off the record. Since then, New Wave Time has gone on the record, and she and her team have expanded their experiments to include But first we have to go to a break.
Radiolab is supported by Progressive Insurance. From the moment car insurance is quoted to the moment it's purchased, drivers can discover a variety of ways to stay protected. More at progressive.com.
Radiolab is supported by Seed.com. Seed's DSO1 is a 24-strain, 2-in-1 probiotic and prebiotic engineered to survive digestion, support healthy regularity, and promote whole body health. Learn more at seed.com/public.
You count on Houston Public Media. That's why you're here right now. Take the next step and become a new member today. Every gift makes a difference. And with a gift of $5 or more per month, you'll receive PBS Passport, a member benefit that lets you stream more of the shows you love anytime. It only takes a few minutes to make a big difference. Become a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
This is Christopher Kimball from Mill Street Radio. How did mobster John Gotti get arrested? Well, he spent too much time in a diner.
John Gotti was a regular at Lindenwood Diner. He had a favorite booth that he sat in all the time when he came in, and the FBI bugged that booth.
Real stories from New York City diners. That's coming up this week on Mill Street Radio from PRX.
Milk Street, Sundays at 1 p.m. on News 88.7.
Hey, it's Francis Lamb, host of The Splendid Table. This week, it's a live event on the incredible food culture of Hawaii. We talked with top chef star Sheldon Simeon, James Beard award-winning chef Robin Mayu, and many more guests. Try and find out why Hawaii is maybe the best place on earth to live. Coming up on The Splendid Table.
The Splendid Table, Sundays at noon on News 88.7.
Hey, Jack here. We're back, looking back at Molly Webster's piece from 2016. Peppering in some updates as we go. We're going to keep rolling here with the original for Beef, and then we'll get more from 2020 Molly Z.
I'm Robert Kolich.
I'm Molly Webster.
This is Radiolab.
And we're back.
And just before the break, you said that there may be a way to bring a memory back from you. Pull the memory back into a different place.
Yeah.
Why are you so quick to jump to the conclusion that the information was somehow completely gone?
And the person who said that to me is this guy.
And the outdoor, and that is to be Tonic Owl Lab.
Over at the Tonic Owl Lab, they were thinking, what if we could figure out exactly where the memory should be in the brain and just give that spot a little bit of juice?
Right.
So they took some mice that were just starting to lose their ability to remember things, and they thought, okay, let's try to give them a memory.
The box has a particular smell, some sort of lighting, and some texture on the feet.
A little mouse carpet or... Wait, really?
Yeah.
Okay, mice on carpet, got it. The point is, the box looks and feels and smells different than any other box they would hang out in.
And then we give them a light electrical shock.
And the mice, they just freeze.
They don't move at all.
Which is a sign that they're afraid.
They hate the box.
And for the rest of the afternoon, which is a very long time in mouse time, they go on hating the box, which means with the carpet and the light and the smell, if you put it back in there, it'll freeze because it remembers the shock.
Yes.
But
a day or a week later,
when these same mice were put back into the same box,
instead of being scared of the box, they would just continue investigating as if nothing happened. They could not remember.
So Duraj and his team did what Wifey did. They got some modified mice and then they put a little hole in their head, slid in a fiber optic cable, they shined some light to trigger the neurons that they think hold this memory. And they were
fear section.
Near the fear section, so leading on the path to the fear section.
So we did this?
And then
put them back into the box.
The box with the particular lighting and smell and carpet.
And asked, is there any change in their behavior?
Will they act afraid again?
Do they say anything? And they did. They showed recovered memory.
So that's like, bam, that memory's in there.
Exactly. One of them taking back. You can dig up the memory by shining light in the right place?
Yeah. I
was always under the impression that the memories were totally lost.
Right, so I think that's not just you. I think that's essentially the entire field what you described. Just because the patient could never tell us, we all assumed the information had to be gone.
So one of the things to say is that Daraj did tell me that, all of the experiments they did are in mice that have early Alzheimer's. The thought is, though, is that once you get to the late stage of the disease, there's enough damage in the brain that you really wouldn't be able to get those memories back.
That might be right, that memory lost is just lost. But, when you have someone in your house and you live with this disease day in and day out, the disease just goes its own way. And it puzzles you or frightens you or suddenly declares something new you didn't expect. So, for example, my dad had it for about 9 years. Just slowly, after disappearing, he did. And the last time my father came to was so far relieved. He hadn't spoken for a year and a half. He was sitting at the table for the Passover Seder. And there's a song that he sang. And it goes, which is the chorus. And from out of the nowhere, this being at the end of the table went toward my father, who hadn't spoken in a year and a half or two, and I had not spoken for a year and 3. Suddenly, pulled into the song and sang the song from both of the table, like the reappearance of some just last figment of himself. And it was both horrifying and extraordinary. I think that's the fact that maybe some information is still missing. Hopefully someday we'll just come out. Maybe something we can do. But yeah, so in their mind at the moment.
As long as we can figure out how to rebuild the pathway to retrieve the memory, then
And then I want to jump in here with one more part of the sound update, which is that Leeway and her team in particular are thinking about it in regard to capturing memories. Because where this research probably gets even more interesting is when you do the light flashing and that sound at the same time.
we eventually just decided, why don't we, put the two together and see how the animals respond.
It's becoming like a mice spa. And when they did that, they saw this gamma beat in the brain, but not just in the auditory cortex or the visual cortex.
Not just in one particular brain region. Now we are seeing across different brain regions.
So the hippocampus got involved and the prefrontal cortex got involved, and then there was the neocortex and maybe even the parietal lobe. So there was activity all across the brain.
It's a little bit like a whole bunch of clocks coming into
Yeah.
sync.
Yeah, yeah. And imagine thinking it's only going to affect one clock, but it actually somehow pulls them all into synchrony. Again, they saw the microglia doing their cleanup thing all across the brain, but they also saw almost like a rebuilding of neuronal circuitry. So the synapses between neurons seem to improve.
Then basically this repairs the disrupted neural circuitry. And I think this in turn can lead to recovery of learning and memory.
Basically, in a way, she's done something very similar to what D-Rod has done, but with her own light and sound technique, and the memories came back.
That's so interesting.
And the mice show very impressive improvement to their cognitive ability.
So it's almost like two things happening, which is you're seeing physiological effects in the brain, and then you're seeing the layer on top of that, which is then the memories that live in the physiology are also
having some impact.
Yeah.
So with all this stuff, super new, I feel like it's caveat time.
You know, I personally think the most important question is whether humans respond similarly.
I mean, keep in mind that both Dirage's study and Wei Tai's are in mice, not humans.
Right. So
And do you have a thought that, like, why, is there a reason that a human neuron might react differently than a mouse?
The thing is, I think especially, in Alzheimer's field, I mean, people got burned a lot.
You know, there's like a 99.6% failure rate in moving something that seemed to work in mice to humans in Alzheimer's. Yeah. That was a study that came out in 2012.
That's a horrible number.
So I just gotta be really conservative
I'll dial it back.
You know, what we have in mice, they're just so exciting and so unexpected. But, I'm gonna keep my mind open when it comes to humans.
And so here we have my final update, which is that Wei Tai and her crew have started human trials.
So we indeed managed to get an IRB approved for our first very small scale study in early stage Alzheimer's disease subjects.
They're doing a clinical trial with 15 Alzheimer's patients.
How far